Well, it's 10 o'clock. I say we get started and people can join us as they can. I'm going to share my screen. The agenda right there. Give me the thumbs up if you can see the agenda. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I just realized I didn't ask anybody to say the prayer. I'm wondering if Amber McWhirter, would you be willing to say the prayer? Do you feel prayerful this morning?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day that Thou hast given us. We're grateful for the blessings that we have in our lives. We're grateful that we can meet together as a physical facility safety committee. We ask Thee to please help and direct the meeting today, that we may understand the needs of this department and how to best fulfill those needs. We're grateful for the blessings of the gospel in our lives, and we love Thee and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Amber. While we have you, Amber, what do you hear as far as unmasking at BYU goes? Do you hear anything there in the risk management area?
So we've been told that there have been hours and hours and hours and hours of meetings about this, and that right now just continue to follow what's on the website, which is still wearing masks on campus.
Hours and hours to go. Yeah, masks.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not involved in those meetings, so I don't know why it's taking hours, but I was told that they have discussed this at great lengths, and they will continue to discuss this as well.
Maybe I'm simplistic. Is the value.
Okay, well, let's get moving here. It looks like Rob is here. Rob, your mic is on. If you want to turn that off, we can hear the background.
Campuses and in its views in politics. I'm
going to mute him. Okay, there we go. We have Jonathan here, and we have about what, 10 people here now. Thank you all for participating. We will be recording this and sending it out. The first item on the agenda is David Smith. He's going to give a presentation. However, he's involved in another important meeting right now, and he'll be about 5 minutes late. So he'll zoom in, and then when he gets here, we'll go back to item number 1. So let's talk about item number 2. We have not had monthly crew meetings for some time now, safety meetings for, a year and a half now almost. And I assume, Amber, that we'll be getting back to those meetings here probably come fall semester. Is that what you have in mind?
I hope so. Maybe even by August. We're still waiting on getting some direction as to, does everybody have to still maintain the 6 feet, or can we go to 3 feet, or do we sit them side by side? And so until we actually schedule those meetings, we want to make sure that we have that direction from the university. So if we need to find larger rooms to accommodate people to have them spread out, that we can do that.
Okay. Now, in addition to those meetings, we've already been doing some crew safety meetings for several of the shops. Even during the pandemic, we've been masked up and social distanced, but I'm assuming that here within the next month or so, we won't have to do that. And these safety meetings have been just showing the online safety trainings that most people in the shop are in need of. We've been concentrating on the meetings have to be done annually, like the driving on campus sidewalks or the machine guarding type of meetings that have to be done annually. And so everybody kind of expires at the same time in some of the shops, and we just do them together. Now, if your shop would like to do that, I'd be happy to come in and schedule a room and do that with your shop at any time. We're doing it with the mechanical shop every 4th Tuesday, I believe, right before devotional. All year long, we're planning on doing that, and that seems to be working well. Steve has arranged for that. But I just wanted to put that out there. If you're interested in doing that for your shop, just shoot me an email or give me a call, and we can work out something that will work for your shop if that will be helpful to you. All right. Item number 3, because of the ending of COVID, we are planning to begin these meetings, these committee meetings in person beginning in August. So that second Tuesday in August, I've already scheduled the room. It will be down in the 198 conference room there in the Brewster building. And we are assuming there will be no social distancing or masking required for that. So we have 2 more meetings after this, June and July, that will be Zoom, and then in person. And I don't think we're going to be recording those or sending them out. So it'll be important that you come and participate in that, or we'll send out meeting minutes, but we won't be able to send out.
If we're the safety committee, and we talked about the shots and stuff earlier, but if we're the safety committee, shouldn't we be an example and just follow the rest of the guidance of the university and wait until we get the clearance to do that?
Good point. I think the university has tipped their hand already. I don't know if you read the Y News announcement last Friday, I believe it was. No, it was last Friday in April. They said that all those who are required to work remotely are now, they have permission to come back and work in person on campus beginning June 1st. And by August 2nd, they will be expected to be back full-time on campus. And the announcement was also made that beginning with fall semester, it will be a traditional fall semester, no more social distancing or any COVID requirements for fall semester. That's the impression I got. Isn't that what you read into it, Amber, as well?
Well, it's kind of hard to read into it. So that's why we don't know if we still have to keep people 6 feet away, or if since the CDC went to 3 feet, if we're going to go to 3 feet, or if we're not going to do that. And so that's kind of why I'm waiting to set up the monthly safety meetings until we know exactly whether it's 3 feet, 6 feet, or you can sit right next to the person. But you are right. Campus personnel is expected to be back on campus on August 1st. And we're expected to be working in our offices by at that time. And so that's why I think it's safe. And they did say to start holding in-person meetings. I just wish they had clarified, are we still 6 feet away, or are we 3 feet, or what? So, but they did allude that we would have a regular fall semester. I don't know what regular fall semester means. I hope they'll give us some more information, but yes, they did say we can do in-person meetings. It's just right now I don't know if that means everyone needs to stay 6 feet away or not.
I'm assuming regular fall semester means regular fall semester.
I hope so. Where
the social distancing and masking requirements are no longer an issue. Otherwise, it's not regular. So I think that's a pretty safe assumption, although things can change between now and then. So let's plan on beginning March or beginning August doing this in person, and we can always adjust that. If something changes between now and then, we can go back to a Zoom. But let's kind of put it in our schedules to begin our in-person meetings August of 2021 for this meeting. And beginning that time, then Mark James, the co-chair for this committee, will be conducting these meetings, and they'll be once again in 198. I think that I'm excited to meet in person with everybody. I'm tired of this COVID nonsense. All right. Any other comments about that? All right. Just a little clarification on number 4. Last time we met, I may have left people with the wrong impression that there were just 2 components of the driving program that need to be repeated every other year. We had the new driving a BYU vehicle and the commercial vehicle, motor vehicle driver responsibilities. actually the program includes a truck driving module as well that needs to be repeated every other year. So just if you can pass that along to the drivers in your shops, that it's a 3 course series that needs to be repeated every year for driving for the CMV program. Any questions about that? All right. Let's see. Is David? Have you arrived?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
All
Sorry,
right.
just a couple minutes late. Sorry, guys.
You're welcome. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to allow you to share. All right. You should be able to share now, David.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'll just try to share my little PowerPoint. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So me and Amber, in fact, I'll talk to you about a couple things dealing with kind of incidents and some other things. And Amber, did you mention, I wasn't here the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the meeting. Did you mention anything about like the recent OSHA investigation?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
No.
we'll talk about, I'll share that really quickly too. That could be interesting for everybody here. So we had an incident up at one of the buildings, and I'm going to try to be as confidential as possible. I want to show you some pictures. Won't show you too much, but here's the incident report. It was a recent kind of crane incident we had, and here's what the incident form when we got submitted kind of stated, so you guys can kind of get a better picture of what happened. It says we were repairing a broken part on an actuator. While removing the back part of the actuator, the injured employee tried to support a piece of metal that was falling at the same time that the back part of the actuator separated from the front part, and the 2 pieces of metal came together and pinched the finger of the employee. So here is the picture I've got. Let me see if I can blow that up. Is that better view?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a picture, and he's censored. The person said I don't want anybody knowing anybody feeling embarrassed or anything about these incidents. But here's the crane they were using, the hoist, and here's the actuator they were talking about in that summary. So what happened was, I'll show you the next picture. The employee had their hands against this part of the top of the actuator on this. I think it's a hydraulic hammer. There's a piston inside of there, and they're replacing the sensor inside the equipment. He had his hands on there, and the supervisor kind of said, hey, just kind of keep your hands out of the way on there. And see that circular part right there, that on top of the actuator right there, this the piece they're talking about, the second piece, circular disc. That started to kind of, when they moved the crane a little bit, when they moved the hoist a little bit, and the slings kind of shifted, as you can see how it's set up on the head of it. It kind of shifted weight, and that circular piece weighs about 100 pounds, kind of started to slide off. The employee took their hands from that position where the guy has his hands now and went to go catch it. When he went to go catch that circular disc, it weighs about 100 pounds. The other piece of metal shifted as well, came down at the same time, and it broke his finger just clean, right, kind of in half. I can't show you the injury pictures. I think a lot of people would enjoy it, but it literally almost took the guy's left index finger off. So it was a pretty bad injury. And here's some of the mitigations and things they came up with. I'll show you. Well, here's a little closer view. Sorry, there's blood on the screen. We have to, when we have an incident like this, we have to hold the scene for OSHA so they can come investigate it if we have a serious injury. So you kind of see some of the injury there. But if you look right here, I just kind of highlighted some of the things that they looked at. They really focused on job hazard analysis, like pre-planning safety in the job, kind of talking beforehand. It's kind of things this is the stuff that they came up with directly in their group. They talked about keeping individuals away from machinery or equipment that's being kind of manipulated that could shift, could cause an injury like this. They said they were going to perform document pre-inspections. They were missing inspections on the crane and some other things as well on the equipment they were using on the hoist, and so that's something they documented as something they want to do better. Don't use damaged lifting equipment. I guess they had some equipment that was damaged when they were lifting with as well. They had some slings and things like that that didn't have tags on them that showed their recommended weight limits and things like that. And
I get my list.
the last one they had was they just pulled this from the OSHA standard, was cranes should not be used for side pulls except for specifically authorized by people. Basically, if you have to do a side pull, you have to make sure it's safe to do so and pre-plan that as well. So there was kind of a side pull issue as well, the crane the hoist they were using. So they just kind of document those things. I think the biggest takeaway for me was from this incident was basically the hazard awareness. And I really think the job pre-planning could have been really beneficial for them. In their department, they actually have a process where they recommend and kind of require pre-planning for things like this. And so I think one of the things they really would have helped is kind of pre-planning, let's keep certain people out of the way that maybe don't need to be involved with the lift, right? When something heavy is being moved. Two is, looking at what the potential is of the if it would shift, what would happen, right? And then there's always this natural reaction for all of us. I do the same thing. I've done the same thing with, like, even in my own house, where you drop a kitchen knife off the counter and you catch it and then you cut yourself, right? And the same thing in the labs, we have this problem a lot. We have students who'll drop like bottles or pipettes and things like that and sharp items, and they go to catch them. And so in our lab safety training, we try to train, it's new in our lab safety, we train people, let it fall, just let it drop, stand back and let it drop, just let it fall on the ground. A lot of times it's better just to not get in that mode of catching it and can get yourself hurt. So anyways, just want to share you guys that incident because it was kind of a serious one, and it kind of talks, kind of reminds us a little bit about crane safety, about hazard awareness, about making sure we have the right things in place, like, equipment's being properly inspected and just, the normal protocols we have. We can apply that to everything from forklifts to ladders to whatever. So anyways, I just thought you guys would find that an interesting incident occurred. And then lastly, I want to share with you guys about, I won't go into detail about the incident because again, I like a little bit of confidentiality. I think it's good, and it shows that we don't want to embarrass or put people in the hot seat. But there are lessons to be learned when incidents happen. So we did have another incident where an employee got hurt. I won't go into too crazy details, but I want to tell you about the positives outcomes that happened from this incident. We had an OSHA investigation. They came on site, and through this whole investigation, even though the employee got hurt, so we really focused on that. Want to make sure the employee's taken care of, and we did that. Usually, when we invite OSHA to an investigation with something like this, with the injury that this one happened, usually there's a citation, and because there's usually something lacking or something missed. We did find there were some internal things that we're going to do better in the future, so we're going to work with this department on it. But I will tell you that we did not get a citation, and I have to tell you how rare this is. This is for this specific injury, and I won't go into details. So again, I don't want to highlight it. I want to keep it confidential a little bit. But for an injury like the one we had, it was a person who had an injured finger, and they got hurt really quite injured, pretty bad. Usually you always get a citation. And Amber, you can chime in here too. I've heard of people pulling it off, but I've never seen it in the 15 plus years I've been in safety that people have actually proved to OSHA that they had enough safety protocols in place and procedures that they dodged a citation off a serious injury. So I'm not trying to promote dodging citations at all, but I will tell you what was kind of cool is these four bullets you see right here on this these are the things you have to prove. In this case, we were able to prove to the OSHA officer that investigated the incident that we provided enough OSHA training. So when the injury happened, the supervisor in this group had the training documented. In fact, he had him trained 2 months before the incident. And then we had to prove the communication of the rules. So he had written documentation of training employees and making sure things were they knew kind of the responsibilities and how to do the job safely. And then third, they had to prove the methods of discovering violations work. So we had and Dave, I sent you an email about this earlier. We had some lockout tagout audits and things we've been doing internally with departments from these different groups, showing that we've been auditing our safety management systems, right, and our procedures. And then fourth, we demonstrated enforcement of rules and violations. So right after the incident happened, that night we retrained employees in a group, and we followed our enforcement kind of policies for that. So we demonstrated all those things, and OSHA felt like we were doing a lot of positive things on site that they did not cite the university for a violation. And it just is really rare. And I thought I'd share that with you guys, because I think what the sign of that, just this happening for us at BYU, me and Amber had this feeling, we're sitting there going, things are getting better. We're getting better at safety. And I think it's a kudos to you guys. And so we wrote an email out to this specific department, just stating some of those things. We highlighted some key people that hold off, making sure training was there, making sure, because sometimes injuries can just happen. I think there are unavoidable injuries. I don't want to act like there's not. I also think there's a lot of avoidable injuries that we can prevent, right? And I believe in that as well. But I think what it showed is that BYU and departments and people like yourselves in this safety committee who are supervisors and are leading the safety charge, you guys are doing the right stuff, and things like this don't happen unless we are doing some of those foundational things. So I think we do have a lot to do better, right? Because we all know we know there's a lot of things we can do better in safety. But I just want to say thank you to all of you guys, because I know in the background there's a ton of safety training going on. There's a ton of caring of employees going on. There's a ton of procedures being put in place. There's a ton of hands-on training and reaching out to employees and supporting them in their safety efforts that's happening. It's thanks to you guys and your safety committees that are making positive actions happen, and we're creating great safety management systems because of your guys' efforts. So anyways, just want to share that with you. I want to share with you that one incident we had, so we had lessons learned, and share with you also that we're doing great things, and let's keep helping each other pull this off and create a safe workplace. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Okay, let's.
Amber, do you have anything to add? Sorry, I should let Amber say final.
One thing I just wanted to emphasize was what Dave said, is that the supervisor had his entire crew retrain on the particular citation we thought we were going to receive. And then about 5 or 6 weeks later, that's when the OSHA officer asked. So initially we sent the training records that show that the employee had been trained on this 2 months prior to the incident happening. But then about 6 weeks after his investigation, he emailed me and said, hey, can you send me this? And because it had already been done, it showed that the supervisor was proactive in getting his employees retrained, where we didn't have to scramble and say, oh, let's retrain them right now. Because in our BYU training LMS, it records that date that you take the training. And when we give those records to the OSHA officer, they can see exactly when somebody has had those trainings, and they can look to make sure that they're in the how many if this particular one requires every 3 years, they can see if it's every 3 years or whatever, because we have to provide the hire date. But that was just really good that the supervisor immediately had the employees retrain, since that was one thing that the inspection officer asked for it 6 weeks after the injury. So we never know when they're going to ask for it, but we think that was a big part of why we did not receive a citation. So kudos to that supervisor.
Very good. Thank you two for that presentation. Now, wanted to mention that there is a crane safety training LMS that's available. I don't think any of the shops have me keeping track of that for their employees, but it is available. So if you just do a search on crane in the LMS, you can see that and see if that's something that would work for your shop, if your shop uses cranes on a regular basis at all. So just FYI. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, that takes us actually down to the concerns log. So, concerns log A, vehicle speed in the material handling area. I spoke last week with the person who's doing the estimating on that project, and he was waiting for some information from the supplier. And I told him I needed to report back to this committee this morning. And he said he'd try and get some information. So I actually reached out to him again this morning to see where that stands. And he said he hadn't heard back yet, and he was going to call them today as well. So that's where that stands. I apologize for the delay on that, especially Andy, for your area. It's for your area over there. And so we're working on that. And as soon as we get that cost estimate, we'll see what we need to do to get funding, and we'll get that speed sign in place for you there. B, vehicle ergonomics Y-train course. Amber, I assume that's still.
I have an update. So it will be done by May 21st at the very latest. It will probably be done this week, by the end of this week. So awesome. I finished my part. I handed it over to my graphic designer last week, and he's working on it.
Maybe what we could do is in the next meeting, we can show, now it's an update of the current training, or is it a training on its own? I don't remember, Amber.
So we are going to add a few slides to the existing training. So that's what we've done.
So maybe we can debut that in our next meeting, at least the portion of it that do. Is that okay, Amber?
Yes, I will not be there at the next meeting though. Just to let
okay,
you know.
Well, I'll do that. I'll review it and I'll show the portion that's new to everybody, so you can kind of see the results of our concern. Thank you, Anne, for that. Okay, all the other concerns that we've been talking about have dropped off the log at this point. Is there anything else that we should be looking at, that we should put on our radar to make sure that we're addressing here in safety-wise in physical facilities? This is a good time to speak up. Okay, I'm going to take that as a big no. You can call or email me independent of this meeting if something comes to mind, and we'll add it to the group. This is the end of the meeting. This is the shortest one so far. That's great. We don't want to make these any longer than necessary. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 8th, another Zoom meeting at 10 a.m. And we look forward to seeing everybody there. Thanks for participating, and I'll send these minutes out here hopefully before the end of the day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David.
Okay. See you, everybody.
Thanks, David.